Parents must be so proud.
Thank you. Okay. Hey guys, welcome to Fast Talk. Today we have our guest, Michellle, and she's here to just tell us how everything started. She's actually the reason why I started my podcast. So, Michellle, hi, thank you so much for being on. I just really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Sophia.
Of
It's been
course.
it's an honor to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
So, I wanted to ask you, why did you come down a couple summers ago to California, to my area of California, to my church? What was your reasoning behind that?
So I always had a heart for Gen Z. I'm a millennial, and so I just have a heart for kids, and I um, love Orange County. I came down with Chad Dedman because I'm good friends with him, and he runs this ministry called Catch the Wave, and it's a ministry where where we were taking Afghan refugees out to teach them how to surf, and trauma victims and kids that are handicapped. So it's a nonprofit ministry that just really involves a lot of fun and play and ministry. And so I met him back in when I was in my early 20s. And when I moved to Redding, California, I reconnected with him and he was going down. He used to be a youth pastor at your parents' church, right? When your
Yeah,
parents, because you're the director of the children's ministry. So
yeah,
yeah, so I got to meet your mom. Your mom's amazing. You have such an amazing family. They host us so well.
thank
So
you.
yeah, I came down with him and a team and just yeah, so we thought why not be a part of the kids camp that week
Yeah.
in at your church. And so
Yeah,
yeah, so that's how I
I really loved when your team came down. I remember for a Monday night at our church, and it was definitely the Lord. I remember you asking for a prophetic word, and I gave you a prophetic word, and
did. You're pathetic.
you and it was and then you gave me a prophetic word too, and you were saying, "Oh, do you have a clothing business? I just saw you being like a boss, and do you have a podcast?" And I was like, "No, I don't have a podcast. Like I've never like thought of that." And honestly, I never really thought of that. Like I didn't think that far. So on my first podcast, which is the most views I've ever got, which is so funny because it's the first one, so usually it's not the way, it's the other way around. But I was just sharing how somebody, I didn't say who at the time, but it's you, and how you
Oh,
prophesied, and we're saying how, man, I could just see the Lord calling you to a podcast. And I didn't really was into podcasts and stuff. So I just thought that's so cool that you were like kind of the Kindle of that. And now here you are today in season 2 of the podcast and so far.
I love it. I love that. I think what is awesome about you, Sophia, is that you are just such a great executor. Like if someone calls that out, you just execute. You're like, you're so full. You have so many gifts. I'm so encouraged by your generation. You guys are killing it.
Thank
I
you.
was not doing this when I was your age. But just yeah, how that seed from the Lord was just planted. And then you just took it and look at it. It's just flourishing. There's all this good fruit, and you just went with
Yeah.
it. So props to you.
Thank you. I just really appreciate that you gave me that word because ever since then it's been so much different, and I've grown in knowledge too because of that, and how the Lord used you as a vessel for his works, and it's just flourished into so many good things, and I've had so many good people on my podcast, and it's
Oh
just
yeah, what
really great.
can you share like who was your first guest and what's
My
happened since then?
first guest, so was my second podcast, and one of my friends who actually I've known her for a really long time, and she's into business, and she helped me grow my business. My first event ever, that I got to sell outside of my house was with her, and she invited me to just sell with her, and so as a combine, it was really fun and just opened my eyes to new opportunities and different opportunities that I wanted to continue. And it was I really enjoyed it, and we talked about how to start your own business and what you need for perseverance. She came over before my vacation. She came over to my little studio, and we got to just immerse in what the Lord gave us, all the knowledge that He just planted it to us. It was just really cool. And from then on, my dad was a part of it, and he talked about,
Oh
just
wow.
finding people to network with, because he's does a lot of business and stuff, and he had a business podcast as well. And I was learning
No way.
all this when I started this, and me and my dad just got really close, even closer than we were, and we are already super close with this
That's so
podcast because he just helped me, and he still helps me with all my podcast, and my mom does too. But my dad helped me find a couple of my guests, and then from on, my mom and my dad helped me do events and stuff. And it's just really cool how all of this was by a prophetic word, but at the time didn't seem like much, but grew into so much. It's really
wow.
cool.
And I love that how involved your parents are in your life. They're
Thank
kind
you.
of your mentors, your business mentors, your spiritual mentors. I just
Yeah,
always love how, because I value that. I really value mentorship. And I always tell young people, you know, mentors, like get business mentors, get spiritual mentors, because that just, you can run so far and learn from their mistakes. And it's, yeah, it's just something that I really find value in. And I just love that, from the short time I got to know your parents, they're just so amazing. And yeah, they just really pour into you in business and also in spirit, right? In spiritual
yeah, thank you.
too.
And the reason why you were there too is because of my mom, and she asked you guys to
Yeah.
come down. And so it's really just an effort of everybody that my life has like really changed, even in small ways too. I still go to the same school, I still do a lot of the same things, but this business has grown me into, I believe, like more mature than I was. But it's just
Wow.
really good how God like plants little seeds along the way to lead me to the destination that He called me to be in.
So I'm so curious, how has your business grown since I've seen you? What has happened?
It's so I've gotten to do three more events, which is exciting. I think I might do another event soon, either in Dana Point or in Irvine. We haven't decided yet, but I got to do one. I'm trying different areas to see what I like best. I really like the Laguna Niguel one, and I got to do
Mm.
that, and it was easier, closer to home, and just really close to my church as well. And then I also opened my website too in last December, this December who, and that was really cool. So for Christmas time, I had all my Christmas stuff ready, which was great. And now, because new year, new season, I am my podcast is now on season 2, which is super cool because this is the 8th episode. And it's just really great how it just keep this the ending past Thanksgiving was my absolute favorite of my podcast. It just flourished after the day before my birthday. I begged my family that could sell and have a market. And so we found one the day before my birthday. And so I went there and met
Which market?
two wonderful women. What?
Which market?
It was a Irvine market, and I got to sell. I sell with uh modern market. I always sell with them just because I've done it for a really like that's how I started. I started with them. And so I just continue because it's my favorite so far. And I met two wonderful women, and I've kept in touch. They've both been on my podcast. So most of
Oh
my
wow.
guests have been from people from my market that I met and got to just connect with. And then they
Wow.
recommend people who they really like. And I've just grown into like a big tree, honestly, like spreading like branches, and all those branches are like the people I've met through this. It's really cool. It's just really wonderful to see every week my new, you know, way to get wisdom. It's really fun.
That's incredible. I love that. What kind of guests? Is it mostly entrepreneurs that come on your podcast?
Yeah, because of the entrepreneurial podcast that I have, and it's mainly just having people on that could share their wisdom and what they've done in the past, and just discuss what we struggle with as business owners and how we could fix those struggles, because a lot of the time business like that is really hard, and most of my guests are either like working part-time on their small business, or full-time and they have kids, or they have college and they're doing it. So like they have their own struggles and meet other people who have that same struggle, and just it's really cool to see how other people benefit from, the podcast.
That's amazing. It sounds like you're building a community over there.
Thank you. I really enjoy it, and I enjoy just building more and more community and just learning so much things. I've learned so much. I have so many podcasts to prove it. And I just love how, like, each week I have a different person, but I feel like I just grow more and more. It's just really
Right.
great. And I just really, really appreciate that, how you are here now. And I think that's so cool. Like the prophetic word is just living right now. And that's why you're here. And that's
Is.
why I'm here. And that's why we're doing this. And it's just really cool.
Yeah, the prophetic. I just love the prophetic. I think the prophetic is just, it's, yeah, I always say I'm addicted to the prophetic.
I just love it. So I love also what you're doing, and you're doing a fundraiser for a missions trip. Tell me
Yes,
more
I
about
am.
that.
Well, the Lord has just really strongly put Australia on my heart in this season. I've always had a heart for Australia since 2011 when I first went to this ministry school. So I studied business at UCLA and had graduated and was pursuing, the business world. And the Lord had called me to do ministry, to do a ministry, to go to ministry school. And I thought that was so out of left field because I'm like, God, I want to go to business school, not ministry school. So, but the Lord was just so clear. And I just love the prophetic because the prophetic just confirms things, right? In your life. You always hear it over and over and you get confirmation from, what the Lord has been telling you. And so So yeah, when I went to Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry, I just met a ton of on fire Australians. And I was
Wow.
just so intrigued by Australia. I've been all over Asia, but I've just never been to Australia. But I haven't had the chance to go visit Australia. So yeah, so in this season, my two friends that are Australian, um, one is she has her own company now. It's a startup. The Lord just gave her this idea, which is called Converge Australia. It's based out
Hmm.
of Reading to connect Australians to the Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry. So the Australian government pays for Australian citizens to come. They partner with a university in Australia, so they pay you to go to Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry because they connect it with the university in Australia. So the government basically pays for your living expenses per month. So it just makes it very affordable for Australians to come here to attend the ministry school. So so she approached me and she said that she was gonna take a bunch 25 people um from BSSM alumni, BSSM students, leaders to Australia to do a missions trip. And I just knew that was the Lord. That was the open door for me to go. And um, so yeah, I'm going to Australia in June. We're going to go to Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and pour into pastors and leaders, do worship nights. Um, they're going to plant a Bethel church in Sydney, so we get to meet the
Wow.
pastors there and them and pray for them. I love praying for people. I love encouraging people. And then we're also going to host a BSSM alumni retreat. So we're going to gather all the Australians together in Sydney and do a 1 day retreat with Chris Valentin, one of the pastors here at Bethel Church, and um, just do a retreat and get together and we get to pray for them and pour into them, encourage them. And yeah, so I'm just available to the Lord, whatever the Lord wants to do, and He's going to provide the funds to do it. So I'm
Yeah.
always open hands. I'm just like, okay, Lord, you put this on my heart. You opened this door. You're the one that planted this seed in my heart for Australia. So I'm super expectant, super excited to see what he's going to do. It'll be my first time.
That's awesome. I just love it. I could just hear the passion in your voice, and I just love that God's leading you and you're open ear and you're ready to go. You're like already packed bags and it's just you're like ready. And I love how from the start, like as soon as you got there, you're like, wow, Australia has definitely been on your heart. So this must be like God's just opened the widest door for you and you're just so excited.
Yeah, he is. He opened the widest door. He sure does.
Yeah, it's just so great to see how we start at places that where we expect to go and God takes us to the unexpected.
Yes, that's a good word. It's so true. He really does. It's such an adventure with God.
It really is. I just love it because I think that's so cool how you started at UCLA and you did business and then you went the total opposite way and you're just like, "Oh, well, where the Lord takes me." I just love that.
Right. I know. It it is. I did ministry school and then the Lord, launched after ministry school. I was just going to move back to LA and pursue business, but then he said what would take more risk and more faith? Would it be moving to San Francisco? Because he put San Francisco on my heart and that was really unexpected because
Yeah.
I'm not from San Francisco, I'm from Southern California and I went to college in Southern California, so my whole network is in Southern California. So, and that's
Yeah.
where my family is. That's, where all my connections, business connections are. And and the Lord challenged me. He said, what would take more risk and more faith, Michelle? Would it be moving back to what you're familiar or would it be moving to the unknown? And I said, well, that's of course the unknown. God, you're all about the unknown.
Yeah.
It's never, it's all about risk with the Lord. It's all about stepping out in faith with the Lord. And so I was like, okay, God, it's obviously you're being clear without being clear. So I moved to San Francisco without a job. And then, yeah, but I knew I was called there. I knew I was supposed to be there. And then he opened the door. And then I had got some marketing experience with a real estate development company. So I was doing marketing. I was a marketing director for them. But I knew I wanted to be in the tech industry. I knew that's where God was leading me. And I just had a heart for the tech industry. And then he opened the door. God just opens, he's the one. We don't have to strive because God is the one
Yeah.
that gives you faith, the one that opens doors. And so I just started applying and I knew I wanted to work for a big social media company because I'm like, what is something that I use every day that I love, that I believe in the mission and the values of a company, of a tech company. And that was social media. So I knew I wanted to work for
Yeah.
a big social company. And he opened the door to work at LinkedIn. And so I got hired at LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn because people joke that I'm a walking LinkedIn because I'm a connector. We love introducing people, in business. I love networking. I love business networking specifically, and I love connecting people for business deals or whatever. It's all about relationship. Business,
Yeah.
Sophia, all about relationship. And so that's what I love about business. It's all, it requires emotional intelligence. It
It
requires
does.
really
It definitely does.
that's why I chose this field. And so yeah, so God opened the door. So I got to work there for a little bit. And then, yeah, he just shifted things now where right now I'm in full time ministry and I want to travel more with that. And then, yeah, I just love, just through my experience in the tech industry, I just realized, I want to empower my generation to be, to empower believers to be the brightest light in these darkest of industries. Because, I realize in the tech industry, entertainment, it's like less than 1% Christian. All these industries,
Yeah.
where are the Christians? Usually you're the only Christian in the entire company or in the entire, you know, field. Or you just feel alone. A lot of Christians feel alone. And so my heart is to just help build community and pour into people and pour in identity, getting people healed, delivered, so they're able to be fully launched out into their destiny. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
so that
I, yeah, I think that that is exactly why some people are just called for business because they know how to bring people in. And I talked about this last week how like we need to bring people in, and that's why we do business. We can't do business by ourselves. That way, the best way to do it is to do it with a community and have
yeah.
other people with you. And I just
Mhm.
love that you still, even in ministry, you still bring that on. You still bring the knowledge that you learned and at LinkedIn, at UCLA, and just bring it with you. Even though you're not using it all the time, you still get to enjoy it with little things. And I just think that's, really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I really appreciate you being again. I've said this like a million times. As you can tell, I'm really appreciative of you just being on and here and just being here to support me. And I just hope that you have an amazing rest of your week. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
being on my podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me
Of course. Have a good day.
too.